Hi guys. As you know, I've been in Egypt for a while, and since I've been here, I've been craving some American foods. Well, this is my take on a potato and corn chowder with shrimp. Enjoy. The main ingredient in this recipe is potatoes, of course. And to get started, you want to wash them up and then cut them to, nice sized pieces and get them on a boil so that they can start getting soft. Then you're going to cut up your aromatics. I use some leeks. I love red onion, so I use that. A few cloves of garlic. Just chop those up nicely. And then to a pot, fill it with a little oil. I added the aromatics with a little salt and let those cook down. You want to make sure when you're cooking your vegetables, just to cook them until they are slightly soft. And, stir frequently to keep them from sticking to the bottom of the pan. They just smell so good. That's why they're called aromatics. They make everything smell good. And then to the onions and the leeks, I added the garlic. I like to cook the garlic second because it burns faster. So you want to, cook everything else down and then add the garlic. And then again, just keep stirring it. Keep it from sticking in the pan. And then to this mixture, I'm going to add some flour. It's time to make a roux. So one of the key ingredients to a good chowder is a nice roux. And it should be a white roux, but I cooked mine a little long. So anyway, I'm going to put some olive oil in the pan with the vegetables. I used probably about maybe a tablespoon and a half. Just stir that to combine it. Then I'm going to add some flour. And for this, I use the gluten-free flour. So it's a combination of potato flour, oat flour, and rice flour, actually. And I found that at the local grocery store here. And then I'm just going to cook that down until the flour is cooked through. So a few minutes. And then I'm going to add a vegetable base, a vegetable bouillon cube. Cook that into the mixture as well. And I like to do it at this stage, get everything, cooked, melding flavors all together. And then I'll add my liquid after I add my seasonings, that is. So put a little thyme in, one of my favorite seasonings to add to soups. And stir that up and let that cook for a few minutes. All right, and then to that mixture, I'm going to add my liquids now. So I'm using coconut milk. This dish can be done, as a vegan dish. For me, I'm adding shrimp though, but you don't have to add any kind of protein whatsoever. It can just be straight vegetables. And the coconut milk is going to start getting thick once it comes close to boiling. And then I took and added water at this point. So I did coconut milk first, and then I just put water in that same size bottle. It was 12 ounces of milk, and then 12 more ounces of water. Stir that up to combine it nicely, and you let it come to a boil again so that it will thicken up. And as you can see, it's starting to get nice and thick. Holding the spoon. It's perfect. And again, just keep stirring, guys, because you want to make sure it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. You don't want it to burn. And I added a little bit more water. just get it a little looser because I know that it's going to continue to thicken up as it cooks. Okay, so I'm just stirring it nicely. And then to this part of the mixture, I'm going to add some rosemary. And I added rosemary because I am using shrimp and I just like how that tastes together. It's totally optional. I prefer to use fresh rosemary, but they didn't have it. So I had to use dry, and you use a little bit less dry than you would fresh. But, in this case, I tasted it and I needed a little bit more. So I added a little bit more rosemary. Tasting it now, and it is good. And you can see it's getting really thick now, again, even after adding that extra water. But it's okay because the liquor from the potatoes are going to loosen it up a little bit more. Now I'm adding all the rest of my seasonings. I've added some pink sea salt. And now the potatoes. And don't worry about the amount of liquid that you're adding because it's going to continue to thicken. Potatoes are also a thickener, so once they're added to the soup, it's going to make it even thicker. So, feel free to just add as much potato liquid as you'd like, just to get the consistency that you want. Okay, and now it's thickening up again. So I'll add the rest of the potatoes. And you can cut your potatoes smaller if you like. I like big bite-sized pieces, but some people like theirs cut a lot smaller so that you can, just barely taste them in the recipe. But I like mine chunky. So I guess it's more like a stew than a soup because the vegetables are so thick. And then again, just, blend it all together, stir it up. And it will continue to get thicker. So don't worry about the amount of water, like I said, that you add from the potatoes, because it's still going to be a nice thick chowder. And this will be like the last batch of potatoes. I can get them all in there. I probably should have used a larger pot, but hey, I'm already in it. I'm not going to transfer the pot now, so got to make it work. Anywho, just add the remaining potatoes and then get them all blended in as well. It looks so good. There's nothing like a nice thick chowder or a thick soup when it's cold out, and it's cold here right now. It is wintertime, so it gets cold in the evenings. It's nice and warm during the day, but at night you want to have something good that'll stick to your ribs. And this recipe right here does that. It is so good. All right, now I'm going to add the shrimp to the recipe. I found some jumbo shrimp that was already peeled and deveined. And I just added them to the pot in their frozen state. You don't have to thaw it out. I also had some corn, frozen corn that I'm adding. And I used about a cup of corn in this recipe. And I'll put the complete recipe in the description for you guys, in case you want to make this yourself. And I just mix the corn in. But add a little bit more color. It looks nice. But as you know, the typical or traditional chowder is a white cream-based soup, so it's not going to have a whole lot of color with it. All right, so now I'm adding the frozen shrimp to the pot. Just give it a nice stir to get the shrimp all combined so that they can cook through. And these are raw shrimp, guys. I didn't put the pre-cooked shrimp in. I don't like those. I like to use the raw shrimp because once they start to melt and they release their juices, release the liquid, it permeates the liquid in the soup. So it has a nice shrimp flavor. Okay, and you're just gonna let that simmer. Let it simmer for a little while, maybe what, 5-7 minutes at the most. But just be careful, make sure you're checking your thickness. If you need to add more liquid, just pour some of the potato liquid in. Like I said, I like my soup thick, so this consistency works just fine for me. And I'm just going to let it go, and I'm just going to cover the pot and move on to my next step. So here you can see the shrimp is cooked through. It's turned nice and orangey or pinkish in color. Still kind of firm, but not too much. This dish is done. So now I am starting to prepare the flatbreads for the meal. Basically, it's the brown Egyptian bread. I put a little garlic and olive oil in the pan, let the garlic cook down, and then just heated the bread through. Okay, and then now I'm going to prepare my garnish. So I just chopped up some parsley. Got my flatbreads ready. My parsley's ready. The soup is done. And the breads, I'm going to be serving them as a garnish, like I said. So I'm just going to cut them up into some nice triangles. So I'll cut it in half, and then I'll cut it in thirds. So those make nice bite-sized pieces. And this bread is so good. It's my favorite. Okay, so now it's time to plate the dish because the soup is done, the garnish is done, and the bread is done. So I'm just going to put a couple of ladles of soup into the bowl. And it smells so good. Piping hot. Then I'm going to put my bread on the plate. And one suggestion is if you're going to put a bowl on a plate, make sure you put like a paper towel or something underneath it so that it doesn't slide. Add the garnish, and voila. Okay guys, so here is the finished dish. It is my take on clam chowder or potato chowder. It's a combo. So it's basically shrimp, corn, and potato chowder. And I topped it off with some fresh parsley, and I used some of this beautiful Egyptian bread to kind of garnish it with. That is so good. So good. Let me know what you guys think of this recipe. If you try it, go ahead and tag me in your pictures on Instagram so I can take a look at it and share it with everyone else. Enjoy the rest of your day.